Hey guys, Guggen Barbecue back, and today we're going to be making sausage together, and it's going to be my first time. So if you want to see somebody who's never done it before, so you can kind of gauge how difficult it is to make sausage on your own, stay tuned and follow along. The first step in this process is to cube up our meat. So we're going to take this pork butt and this chuck roast and we're going to slice it up into cubes, and then we're going to place it in a container and then pop it in our refrigerator for about 45 minutes to an hour or until they've firmed up enough. So let's go ahead and open these packages up and get started. And we'll start with our chuck roast first. And it's got some nice marbling in it. Hopefully it gives us the fat ratio that you want. Normally, from what I've seen, you want to use brisket to get that 70-30 fat ratio, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money on my first sausage making cook. And then we'll do our pork butt. Now this one does have a bone in it, so we'll have to cut around that. Alright, we're going to weigh our meat up, and we want to know what it is in grams so we can do the proper seasoning ratios with our salt, our curing salt, and all the spices that we're going to add to the sausage. So let's get all this meat on the scale. I've got it zeroed out right now, and we'll just take note and see exactly how much this weighs. And then we'll do the conversions together once we get to that point when we're ready to add all of the seasonings and the curing salt. Alright, so we're at 2,832 grams. So we're going to take note of that measurement. So we're going to use that to create the proper ratios. So let's get this meat in the freezer and let it sit for about an hour. Alright, so our meat has been in the freezer for about an hour, and I've also kept this grinding kit for my Kitchenaid in the freezer as well, so it's really cold. You want to make sure that everything is cold, including your meat stuffer if you have one. So we're going to get this grinder set up on my wife's Kitchenaid. Don't tell her, hopefully she's not watching. She's at work right now, so she's not going to see this. So we're going to go ahead and hook this thing up. Now this kit was about $50 from Amazon, so you don't have to spend a ton of money if you have a Kitchenaid already on a grinder. Eventually, if I make a lot of sausage, I may upgrade to a dedicated grinder, but for right now, this is what we're going to do and use. So we're going to get this all put together and get it attached to our Kitchenaid, and then we're going to grind our meat. So for the first pass, I'm going to use this really big die, has big holes in it, or coarse ground meat. First, we're going to insert our gear. Then we're going to insert the cutting wheel here, and then our die. And then you go ahead and you screw it all on. You don't want to go too tight, but snug enough to where it's going to stay together. So then you insert this into the front of your Kitchenaid. There's a little cover and a screw here that you loosen up this screw, and then you insert this in, and you gotta line it up with the gear, and you might have to turn a little bit to get into that notch so this doesn't spin, and then you tighten up this back screw. So that's all pretty simple. Then we've got this little cup right here, and this is just gonna be where we feed the meat into. Alright, so it's time to start grinding. Let's go ahead and we're going to put a little bit of oil in here just to kind of lubricate the gears. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. And everything's really cold, so it shouldn't stick too much anyway, but I'm just going to put a little bit of this canola oil in there just to lube up the gear in there a little bit. That should be plenty. And let's go ahead and turn the machine on. And we'll start feeding our meat in. So I've got this on speed 1 right now. And you can see it does a pretty good job. I have no complaints about it. Now, it may burn out this motor eventually, we'll just have to see. And that looks pretty good. So it's nice and coarse, as you can see, but it did a really nice job. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna switch out the die to a little bit smaller holes, and we're gonna put in all of our ingredients, our seasonings, water, and things like that, and then run it through one more time before we start casing it up. So let's go ahead and get all of our ingredients together: the curing salt, the kosher salt, cayenne pepper, garlic powder, and so on, and measure them all out depending on the weight of this meat. Mix it in, and then run it through the machine one more time. All right, so we've weighed out all of our ingredients, and you can see I kind of broke it down in this nice table here. So I weighed out the meat, I put it on my scale, and it came out to be 2,832 grams, which is roughly like 6 pounds of meat. And then what you want to do, and you can use whatever ratios you want, but these are the ratios that I found online and in other videos that's for a good first time sausage making process. So I did 1.5% kosher salt, 0.25% curing salt, water is 10%, garlic powder is 0.5%, mustard powder is 0.5%, black pepper 0.25%, paprika 0.25%, and cayenne pepper 0.125%. So again, you guys can use whatever ratios you want. You kind of change it up a little bit depending on the flavor profile that you'd like to have. But this is just my first time making sausage, and I kind of wanted to use a standard recipe in standard ratios. So all the way on the right, you can see I've calculated in grams the weight I'm going to be using for this particular amount of meat. So let's get everything mixed up. So I'm going to put in our salt, kosher salt, our pink curing salt, our garlic powder. I didn't have any mustard powder, so I subbed in some cumin. Get that in there. And then our paprika. And our pepper. And I just put in the cayenne pepper and the coarse pepper, but I measured them separately. I ran out of little bowls. We'll get that in there as well. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to lightly mix this up together. And I highly recommend you use a big bowl like this, big container. And you don't want to overwork it too much. We are going to send it through the grinder one more time, but you kind of do want to get it all nice and mixed up pretty thoroughly. And if you guys could smell this, it smells absolutely wonderful. All those spices are very aromatic. And I'm making a mess, but that's okay. That's part of the fun with making sausage. It's going to be a little messy, so keep that in mind. All right, so that looks pretty good. We're going to send it through the grinder one more time, and then we're going to be ready to case everything up. All right, we're going to turn it on to position 1 again, level 1. And we got our new die in there, which is a little bit finer, just a little bit, nothing too much. And we'll go ahead and just feed this into the grinder. All right, so we got our meat ground one more time through the grinding machine, and now it's time to stuff our stuffer. So everything that I've been using that's metal, part of this process, I've been putting in the freezer so everything's really cold. So you can see the condensation on this stuffer here. So I'm gonna get it packed in here. This is a 5-pound stuffer. I think we've got, 6, maybe 7 pounds of meat. So we're probably gonna have to fill this up more than one time, but I'm gonna get it filled, and then we're gonna get it into the machine, and then we're gonna work on these casings that we have in front. And you wanna pack it down there so you don't have any air pockets. All right, so that's almost to the top. We're gonna get it into our machine, and then we're gonna get our casings on. And I'm gonna get this prepped. We just want to see the meat come out to about, the tip, and then we'll put our casings on. And here it comes. All right, so it's time to get our casings on. So you want to find the end of one of these casings, and you want to kind of open it up a little bit and get some water in there and kind of flush them out as you're going. And it'll also help untangle these as well. Let's go ahead and let's move this so you guys have a little bit better of an angle here. So I'm going to get some water in there. Get a couple fingers in here. There we go. So you see the water running through there. And that's just helping untangle this casing. And we'll run it all the way through. And we got our water out of there. And we'll just do that one more time, and then we'll put it on the stuffer. Alright, so that should be good. Let's move this out of the way and get this casing on there. Alright, we got our knot at the end. I think we're ready now. So, don't make fun of me too much. Never done this before. See how this baby goes. The stuffer makes it really easy. I was going to use the Kitchenaid kit because it did come with a stuffer attachment for the grinder, but I think it would have taken me quite a while to get this correct. And this is so easy. You just turn the crank handle and it fills up this casing. No problem. And I'm just making one huge link, and then we'll spin them and get them into individual links at the end. Alright, so that's the end of our casing. I'm going to pull this off and we'll tie it off. Alright, we got that tied off, so I don't think that turned out too badly. That was going to be kind of a tricky part for me since I've never done it, but we're going to make these into links now. So we're going to take this end right here, and I'm going to make them about, I don't know, 6 or 7 inches. I'm going to pinch a little bit. And then take another link, pinch a little bit. And we're going to spin it maybe 3 or 4 times. Alright, that looks pretty good. And we'll take another 6 inches here and pinch it, and we'll find another 6 inches and pinch it. And we're just going to turn it 3 or 4 times. Looks good. And do the same thing. We're going to do a pinch. And do another pinch. Looks good, and we'll just split the difference here. And then this last one, I don't think it really makes a difference which way you spin it. And that looks pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. I mean, you know, I've never done this before. I don't know if you guys have or not, but I was a little intimidated. But that is our first batch of links there. All right, so I'm going to get the rest of the meat in the stuffer, get another casing on here, and we're going to finish it up. All right, so I think these turned out really, really good, especially for our first attempt. So I'm going to pop these in the refrigerator, leave them there overnight. That way the casings can get all nice and dried out and form that pellicose that the smoke is going to adhere to. And then tomorrow, we are going to cold smoke them in my pellet smoker. So we'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning, everybody. I've got my pellet smoker out here heated up on the smoke mode, which is going to keep it between 130 and 150 degrees. And here are all the sausage links that we created. I just separated all of them. Got all of our sausages on here. So we're going to let them sit here for about 5 hours in the cold smoke, and we'll check back then and see how they look. So it's been about 2 hours, and I'm going to go ahead and flip all these sausages over just to make sure that we're getting some even cooking. Let's open this sucker up and see what they're looking like. Nice and deep red. All right, let's get these flipped over real quickly. And that's looking beautiful. So we'll check back in an hour or two and pull these suckers off. It's been about 4 hours. Let's go ahead and see what these sausages are looking like. They're looking pretty fantastic. I believe they're done. So we're going to go ahead and pull these off. All right, we've got our sausages off the pit. They're looking really good. I really like that red color. So to stop the cooking process, we're going to dunk them in this ice bath here, shock them, and kind of make the casings a little bit tighter and give you that nice bite that you're after. So let's go ahead and get these in the ice bath. All right, so we'll let them sit there for, I don't know, about 10 minutes. We'll pull them out, wipe them all down, and then they're ready to either throw on the grill or to vacuum seal and freeze them for later. All right, it's time to pull our sausages out of the ice bath. It's been about 10 minutes. Let's get them dried off, and then they're ready to throw back on the smoker at about 300 degrees. And we'll try to wipe away some of these grill marks a little bit. There he goes. There's a little Randy shifter for you. And there's our sausage, guys. It looks really, really good. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cook a couple. I'm going to turn my smoker up to 300 degrees and heat one of these back up. It'll probably take about 20-30 minutes. Then we'll slice into it and give it a taste test. We just got our sausages off the smoker. They look really, really good, nice and plump. This one shriveled up a little bit. I think it started leaking some of the oil and some of the grease that's in there. This one didn't break, and I think it turned out great. So let's slice into it and see how this tastes. What do you think, guys? I think that looks pretty dang good. Let's go ahead and see what it tastes like. Okay, so it's got a really, really good flavor. This was a pretty simple recipe. We didn't use a lot of spices. We didn't add any cheese or any peppers or anything like that. The cayenne level is on point. It's got a little bit of a heat. But man, that is one flavorful sausage. So this is going to be the first of many cooks for me. This was really, really, really good. The casing has a really, really nice, good snap to it when you bite into it. I mean, look at that, guys. That is beautiful. And I know I've mentioned a few times, but this is my first time. I'm by all means not a sausage maker. I have not done this before. So a big shout out to all the channels that put out really good sausage content. It really helped me make this for my first time. So thanks Chud's Barbecue and Smokin' Joe's. I primarily watch both of your videos on sausage making, and it came out great. Man, I can't stop eating this. Alright guys, so this concludes the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video and consider subscribing. And we'll see you in the next one.